Haha, there she goes.
Hey, friend.
Hi, how are you, Amanda?
I'm doing so great. How are you? I'm so excited about this. Thank you.
Me too, man. This is great. It's so good to see you. It's been so long since we've been able to talk.
It's a long time. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
have a baby?
yeah, man. Can you believe it? Yeah,
No.
man. Yeah, young Nasir, man. He's amazing.
He's beautiful. You have the most beautiful family.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
You're
I'm glad
welcome.
you're keeping
You're
up with
welcome.
us. I just finished bath time. He did it. He did his bath time. Now mom is putting him to bed.
It's so sweet.
Yeah,
So
man. So
you
great.
guys are a beautiful family.
Thank you so much. Yeah, man. It's been a fun ride to say the least. I can't wait for you to meet him. Are you in Pennsylvania? I remember you used to come down from Pennsylvania, right?
No, I'm
Oh,
I lived in Pennsylvania when you were a
right.
production on House of Cards.
Right.
Too far of a drive from where we filmed in Maryland a lot of the
Right.
time.
I
And
remember.
so Alabama. And so now we're kind of neighbors again because you're in
Oh,
Atlanta.
cool.
So yeah.
Oh, cool. What part of Alabama?
I am I'm on the eastern shore of Mobile,
Yeah.
Fairhope. So I'm in like the Bay Area.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I went to University of Alabama, Birmingham.
I know you told me you just play football.
Yeah. See, look at that, man. You got a great memory, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just sometimes I know random towns in Alabama, and that's why. So I'm familiar with Mobile, but say the
Yeah.
city that you're in again.
Fairhope.
Fairhope. I don't know if
Yeah.
I heard that one yet. That's cool though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it pretty
It's
down there near the beach?
Yeah. We're about, well, we have the beach, like we're on the Mobile Bay. So there's the more premier beaches are closer to Pensacola, which is about an hour away. So,
Right,
but
in Florida.
all over the place.
Cool, man. That's
Beautiful,
great, man.
how
That's
beautiful the Alabama beaches are.
cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's great, man. Well, I'll go ahead and get into it. So how you doing, guys? This is a new episode of the new Filmosophy, and this is Trei Hill, and we have the pleasure of having with us today. I'm so excited. This is one of the most jovial spirits I have ever met. She's an actress that I had the pleasure of meeting on House of Cards. It is Amanda Scarano. And I always thought your last name was Rochelle, so I guess your actual last name is Scarano.
Yeah, I just don't always use my last name
Yeah.
because I have a couple different careers going on. So I like to kind of sometimes keep them separate or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
it and actually the funny thing is there's another Amanda Scarano on
Oh, really?
IMDb, and she's a well-known I think she's a producer or something. And my my film career, I guess you would say, is not at the tier that hers is. And
Not
our
yet.
career got mixed up, and I have even wrote her apology letters. So she ended up having to kind of change her name about that because it got so mixed up. And so I just go ahead and like on my social media and with like people that I know more closely or personally, I just use my first and middle name.
Got
So
it. Okay, cool. Well, I love that's a really pretty name, Amanda Rochelle. I always love that.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You don't have to apologize for your having an actual name. That's your name.
Yeah,
Sorry for being me.
it's fun.
That's cool. But no, man, thank you so much. We're gonna be breaking down today Pee Wee's Big Adventure. We should all hold a great feeling of gratitude for Amanda having us watch this film, taking us back to our childhood, to those jovial moments. Man, I have so much more respect for Paul Rubin as an adult. You know, he's such an incredible performer.
He is. He's a sweet, sweet man.
Yeah,
He really got a broad range, and he's really got a really loving, like genuine heart. He can be so wholesome, and that's what I love about the character of Pee-wee and the movies, that adults and younger people can appreciate it alike, and it doesn't cross the bounds of being inappropriate. So
right. Yeah, man.
there,
I was amazed. I was really pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect, how well it aged, and to be an adult and watch it, there was a lot of adult content, and also it's all adults. It's not like it's kids that are
yeah,
acting at all, you know. So there was adult content, but it wasn't inappropriate. It was
right,
the perspective was still so innocent of it, you know.
yeah, and looking further into like just who Paul Rubens is, and also there HBO is doing a documentary about him.
Oh,
I didn't
cool.
know if you knew that. I think it's gonna come out in the winter or something like that. But I think he announced that like on his website. Because I went more into following him a little bit closer because I got the front of Pee Wee's bike tattooed on my throat.
It's
Because
beautiful. Yes, that is a beautiful tattoo, man. Do,
yeah.
what you want to say? Anything that it might mean to you?
So the whole concept of the movie, like with what Pee Wee goes through. If you take, for example, Carl Jung's The Dark Night of the Soul,
Hmm, hmm.
um, Pee Wee's bike was more representative of like his authenticity, or like it was his love, but in an inanimate object. But he identified with it, and losing that bike led him on this journey. And there's so much more to it, but just saying that in the simple realm of things, um, I kind of connect with that as like, yeah, like that, the bike, the siren, because this is the siren, it's like the authenticity, and I always call it my spirit mammal.
Man, the
So
more and more I watched this, the more and more I saw you inside of Pee-wee's character. I was like, yes, I see exactly just that free bird, you know,
yeah,
and just spreading that energy to everywhere you go. You know, that
thank you.
bravery. You know, I always love that about you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to really connect with that and learn it, and it's a whole lifelong process of you know kind of healing and working on yourself and everything. But I don't know, I just connect with Pee Wee so much more than most other things. So, and it's my deal. But anyway,
That's awesome. And I love your backdrop too. But guess what I forgot? I forgot my notebook. I forgot my notebook with all of my handy dandy notes. I'm gonna run and grab my notebook real quick and I'll be right
really,
back.
yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I'm back.
So, when you say you like my backdrop, I'm
Yeah.
decorated with movie posters, and some are of my favorites, and it goes all around the room. But I do believe that like uh, film and art and music is all representative of philosophy. So a lot of these are like some of my favorites, and some that are the most meaningful to me. Um,
Mhm.
so with that, it's just it's a reminder, because I do think that there are bigger messages to all of us through films, whether the creators know it or not. So um,
Definitely.
it's one of my things to speak in like movie quotes and song lyrics and stuff, like just to piece them together with other parts of my life, or maybe the message I'm trying to send. So um, Filmosophy is absolutely, positively, 100% um, exactly like my everyday life. So
I believe it, man, and I appreciate your support in the with the podcast. She's been a big supporter ever since I've started it, and I love so much because that's what this has always been about. You know, when I was just talking with somebody about how I swear like all of the things that I say is basically all these one-liners that I picked up, throughout the 80s and the 90s throughout my childhood, right?
Right.
And all of that is a kind of a is a, it's not kind of it's a culmination of me. It's a culmination of my spirit. And when you were just explaining just what's all lies behind you, with all your photos and everything, and it's just like, yeah, we that to me that's sort of why I began this, and that's sort of what that we all kind of have our individual filmosophies that we're able to display like that, right?
Yeah. And yeah, and I think, and I love that so many different films have like different takes on them. Like I'll go and read, especially about popular ones, like say like Fight Club and The Matrix, like how people take their different, like it means something different to everyone.
Right.
Um, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but people pull so much inspiration from it. And I think that um, filmmaking is so important, and entertainment and movies. And when we look deeper into it, we can realize like how much it gives us, and I mean how much connectivity and healing it brings us. Like I've probably, bonded more greatly like with clients and friends and coworkers and everything over like our love of, the same sort of arts.
Definitely.
So I think it's so important.
That's beautiful.
So yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, you'll get a chance to touch on some of your famous films behind you when I ask you a few of these questions.
Okay.
So I guess I don't want you to be redundant. You kind of already said what your filmosophy is. That's always my first question. Did you want to add anything to that?
Um, no, I think that's really where it takes it. I mean, and I also think that either on an individual level, I mean, if you go back and watch even some of your favorite things, or watch it with a friend, as you age, like those concepts that you understand can change. um there's movies that I really enjoyed that I went back and watched again, and they mean so much more. Like every time, like I pull another piece of it or I identify with it. So I think that what we can learn from it is endless.
Definitely. One of my guests, Bosco, a filmmaker, he was saying how it it is it's also it's like time traveling. You
Yes.
and you almost when you watch a film again, you see what not only do you see the film in a different light and you learn and see things in a different way, you also see how you used to see things.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
can kind of compare this older version of yourself to this newer version of yourself in a way.
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty beautiful because you can pull like both dark and light things out of it, or have a chance to reflect, and just like anything like that's olfactory or that you can taste or whatever, like when you watch something and like consume it, you're able to digest it in a different way too. So
Beautiful.
I don't know. I think movies are just so important.
Amanda came ready today, y'all. I hope y'all are ready. Cool. So, can you name a VHS that you still own, or one that you can remember that you put in last?
Back to the Future. So Back to the Future is, and I rewatched Pee-wee like right before like we had this scheduled, so that I had it I had it fresh in my mind.
Right.
Back to the Future. It's one of the posters behind me.
Nice.
Not only is Michael J. Fox like one of my birthday twins, but I love the soundtrack. I love the whole concept. There's a whole philosophy behind Back to the Future. And another one that I really identify strongly with is Fight Club and Edward Scissorhands.
Nice. I love those, man. Those for a couple of different reasons, man. Just the films that you're naming, there are just so many layers to them and
Yes.
so unique. Edward Scissorhands. I think about all those pastel, perfect colors out there that in contrast to this, isolated, cold looking individual that needed that family and that warmth around him. But lo and behold, he was actually the warmth that that town needed, right? You
Yeah.
know, I love that.
He was so woefully misunderstood.
Right, right.
Um,
So awesome.
a lot of people, seeing him as a violent, scary creature, that he just wanted to be complete. And I mean, just so many things he went through, but I identify with that a lot. And, especially like since becoming a martial artist as well, people think I'm dangerous, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really not the person you should worry about ever. So, but the other thing,
Practice.
Michael J. Fox and Johnny Depp have the same birthday as me, so I'm
Oh
a
wow,
little
they both. Oh
biased to them in general. So, but their movies are phenomenal.
wow. So all three of you got the same birthday, huh? What sign is that?
Gemini.
Gemini? Okay.
Gemini.
Okay. When's Gemini's? Is that
It's June, so it's June 9th. So it's 6/9, 6/9. It's like it would be almost like perfect balance.
Oh wow, how about that, man? And it's
So
coming up too, huh? And it's a couple weeks.
yeah,
Cool,
yep.
cool.
So
That's beautiful. All right. And then and what type of martial arts are you practicing?
I take Chinese Kempo and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Oh wow.
Um, I have my belts in Kempo. I'm a red belt right now.
Mm.
And I'm still a white belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I broke my wrist skating, so I'm a little bit on hold in the pandemic. But
Yeah, I saw that on social media. I'm sorry about that, man. I was like something finally slowed you the hell down. Every time I see you on social media, you are doing some new adventure.
yeah, my back stopped hurting when I broke my wrist, and I realized
That'll do it. Just to injure something else. That's great.
you
But,
got to keep living, right? So
right, man. Yeah, man. All the scars and wounds. That you getting them is the fun part, right?
exactly, yeah. So
So, what's the last movie you saw at the movie theater?
um, I'm trying to think of the name of it. So it was the one that was filmed in one take, like the worm. It was it 1917? Is that what it was
Yeah.
called? I'm
The
talking
war movie.
about. Yeah,
Cool.
like the two soldiers. Gosh, I think it was a number, but it was filmed in like one take, and it was
Yeah.
amazing.
I think you
I,
got it right. Was that the right number? Was that the
I
right year?
it might
1917?
1917.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you got it right. I'm gonna double check for you.
All right.
1917, the movie. Yep, popped up, right? Like
Uh,
a gem. There you
all
go.
right. Well, it was incredible, and I mean it did look like one take, but it was. I mean it was like you were there. Oh,
Man. I got
it
it.
was.
I still gotta watch it.
Oh, yeah, you definitely should. I really recommend it.
Cool. Definitely. That was Chris Nolan, I believe. He did that one too, right?
Oh, was that Chris Nolan?
Right.
I love.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did. I'm gonna double check. Just cause oh no, not at all. It was Sam Mendes.
Oh,
Glad I checked. So yeah, cool, man. All right. Well, what is your favorite movie? I guess you already said it's probably in one of those movies you already said, huh?
yeah, but it just depends where I'm at.
Right.
Um, it depends, like what season of life it is, and where I am. In my. I mean, there's some core favorites, but
Mhm.
I'd have to say it's neck and neck with Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Fight Club, and Back to the Future.
Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I love your favorite movies. Fight Club is just one of those films that crack me in the head every time I watch them, and I love. I'm a sucker for for a good twist at the end, right? And
And you and I worked for David Fincher at the same time.
oh
He
wow, how about that? We did, huh? That's so
uh,
cool.
was the director. So
Yeah, man, exactly.
yeah.
That was so cool. We both got
So
to work on
it
this.
was it was David Fincher that had you and I meet.
How about
Exactly.
it, man? See,
Yeah.
he's touching our lives yet again. How
Exactly.
shout out to David. Thank you, sir.
Right. Yes.
Right? Yeah, man. I mean,
Like when she would bring him coffee on set, he would say "bless you,"
oh
and I was
yeah.
like, "Yeah."
Wow, that's so cool. Cause he was on I saw him on set. I guess he was there a lot the first season. Were you there the first season? I wasn't there a lot. I wasn't there the first season.
I mostly like season 3 and 4, I think, but season 3 he did a lot of, and then
Mhm.
one day it was the last day of filming. It was like the 23rd of December or something near that, but it was actually his birthday.
Oh
And
wow.
we were doing the scene, and it was in Baltimore, and it was when like Kevin Spacey like stood up on a table at an Underwood campaign, but it was his birthday that day. So
Oh
um
cool.
I remember that day because I worked really close to him that day. And I in person, you know how everybody in person, when you see them on a set, like you know that they're giants, but then you're like, oh, they're human too.
Right.
And like I was like,
Like he's not made out of marble or
oh.
like 10 feet tall or something, right? Yeah, yeah. That's something. That's
So
so cool. I know I started weaning off towards the end of season 3. I was bouncing back and forth between Veep and then Harry, he who was the key PA on season 2, he got on a David O. Russell film up in Boston, and he called me to come up there. And then that's when I ended up going. I don't know if House of Cards was still filming or not, but I just remember those were like it was between Veep and leaving up the Boston that kind of weaned me off of House of Cards. But
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
never forget HOC, man. Yeah, that was my fam. Yeah, I learned that was a great training grounds, for me personally. I learned so much and met so many cool people.
They had such an exquisite and talented crew and set of people. Like it was so highly professional. I've
Hmm.
still never been on any set that was even remotely close to like that caliber of people in the industry. It was
I'm
amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad that you second that because I always tell people, I've been on plenty of sets, but that it may be a couple of rivaled, but I don't think anything was as pristine as being on the set of House of Cards. It was a great
Yeah.
training ground because it's always been my standard everywhere I go, and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. And I'm sure that that raises the standard that you direct under too. So it
Exactly.
yeah.
I hope
Um
so.
yeah, it really opened my eyes to like, I mean, I've still been doing a bunch of movies, and I mean, besides Venture with like bigger names, like I was on the set with Jason Segel not long ago, and Gary Sinise, and like it was still like the I was like, this is an HOC. Like I have to go back to my roots. Like, okay,
All
well
right.
maybe what I'm looking at is like a standard, I guess, but
Mhm.
House of Cards was like just so top tier in quality. It was amazing.
Yeah,
So
man. Yeah, man. They were cutting ground too, all at the same time.
yeah.
Cool. Well, that's beautiful. All right. So we can go ahead and get into Kiwi's Big Adventure. It was directed by Tim Burton. These were all awesome surprises for me. I didn't realize that. And Phil Hartman was the writer. Him and
Yeah.
Paul wrote it. That is
Yes.
so cool. And he made a little guest appearance towards the end there.
Yeah. Like when they were at the drive-in, he was among the news reporters. And so Paul Rubens and Phil Hartman had a relationship, a working relationship when he was, I think, doing improv as Pee Wee.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and like doing the Pee Wee's Playhouse, which on stage. So it was live on stage before that.
Wow, so that's how he got his show. That was his bid on stage as a comedian, and somebody saw that and gave him his opportunity.
Yeah, he did more like kind of like improv stuff and like stage work. And so he came up with the persona of Pee-wee, and it just developed from there, I believe.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember accurately, and I could be a little bit off, but
Oh, you're fine. That's so encouraging to hear. I love hearing those stories. And I remember too. I meant to look up more on this. I remember him getting in trouble too because he lost his show because he was at like a peep show. He went. I'm like, isn't that where you go for that stuff? Like,
yeah,
he didn't do anything
back,
wrong.
back in like the 1990s, he was busted in a theater for watching a pornographic film.
Right.
Um, then I think arrested for like lewd behavior, but he actually um the charges or something were dropped on that. And then I think it was like maybe like in the early 2000s,
Hmm.
he something like he was, no, I think for the lewd act that he was fined or something like that. And then there was an incident years later where there was like like it was suspected that he had like child pornography, but it was just old photographs.
Wow.
So it wasn't like that. That case was dropped. So Paul Rubens always had the position. He does present himself as more like asexual, so he doesn't introduce sexuality into the part of Pee-wee like at all. So if you notice that like throughout his movies
Right.
and throughout his character of Pee-wee, he actually avoids that topic. And since he's a very private person, he doesn't include his sexuality or the topic at all. So, you know, the media kind of like went in a frenzy about this,
Right.
um, because people are just morbidly curious and they want to know like where he stands with that. But I think it's a very strong thing not to have to go and like use the topic of sexuality and stay away from that. So I really love that. I really love that he's wholesome and that he's just like, hey, I'm gonna let you guys guess on this. I
Yeah.
feel that vibe very strongly because I've had people like assume things about me, and I'm like, you know what? You can just think what you want.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's something about, that sort of, asexual or sort of ambiguous sort of spirit that one may give off that it's way too odd for people. And but it's so, but to me that personality is so freeing, right? And I think that's why people get that feeling from individuals like that. And it's so unfortunate because because and I see it even as you were talking. I'm thinking about, when he was with Dottie, and then when he was with Simone and went to France,
Yeah,
and it was all this very mutual situation. Even, the guy when he dressed in drag,
maybe,
even the guy kind
yeah,
of looked at him a little, so it was like this.
that line on him when the car like landed off the cliff and he said,
Mhm.
"I'm a loner, I'm a rebel," and he goes, "Deja vu." But yeah, even the way they were looking at each other, but it gives off no clue to like where any of it's at. It's just funny. So like people like to run with their ideas, but I love that Pee Wee kind of confuses everything, you know?
Yeah,
Like he
yeah,
just
man. I'm
he's like, I'm
sorry that he got caught in all that, because he lost his show, and I'm sorry that he had
yeah,
to get caught in all of that, because I mean that's what you're supposed to do at a porn theater, right? You're
yeah.
That's what
Ex-
you're there. It's not like he was like out in the middle of the street,
no. And he's a human being. So, you know, human beings have, you know, whatever urges or whatever. And yeah, like back then, like that's the thing that people did. And like you would go to a place like that. So
Right.
I don't I wouldn't shame the man for it, but I'm glad that over time now that mostly people kind of forgave that or like gave him his humanity back and you know appreciate him more for like who he is.
Yeah,
Because I
amazing
like on
performance.
like if you look on his social media and stuff, like he runs a couple social medias
Mhm.
and it's so cute. I love it. So, you know, people have like re-embraced the idea of Pee-wee.
Yeah,
So
I know I saw him on maybe like the late night show or something a few years ago where they were asking him to put back on his outfit to see if he could fit it, and then he did
yeah,
the dance for us one more time, and I remember as a kid, because I was a huge Pee Wee fan when I was really young. I
yeah.
can hardly remember, but I remember Pee Wee, and I remember when him being gone for a while, and I didn't know why at the time. But then I remember a few years later, he was in Dunstan Checks In. Do you remember that movie? It was
I
it was this little boy and this chimpanzee in this hotel, and he played like this crazy bellhop. And I was like, "Oh, that's Pee Wee. He's back. He's back."
and
He
then I
wasn't
think
playing Pee Wee, but it was Paul Rubens.
yeah, and then he was in another movie or a show like about I think drugs or something like that. I think it was on HBO or something.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was a more serious role, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm glad that he got his career and his respect back.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
all right, so we're gonna go on the big adventure now, guys. All right. So Pee Wee, we start off, and Pee Wee is winning the Tour de France, ladies and gentlemen. He has won the Tour de France, and he's getting his medal and everything. And then he wakes up, and it's actually a dream. It's just a dream, guys. All right. He didn't win the Tour de France, and he's getting ready. But I love how it starts off with Pee Wee. Pee Wee recognizes that inner pimp. He recognizes the inner awesomeness that is he, because when you're dreaming about winning the Tour de France, that nobody can tell you nothing at this point, right?
That's when, yeah.
And I love how he puts on the bunny slippers, and then when he puts on the bunny slippers, he like prances his feet over to the carrots.
Uh,
And then he slides down the fireman pole, and he automatically is dressed inside of his full outfit already off rip.
uh,
That's that Pee Wee magic. And
yeah.
so let's see. He lights a candle, and he starts the breakfast machine. The
Hmm.
the breakfast machine creates Mr. What is it? Mr. Breakfast, right? His
Yes.
plate of breakfast, and he's like, "Arr, arr,
Hello, Mr. Breakfast. Yeah.
arr." And then he has the Mr. T cereal. He's like, "I pity the fool that eats my breakfast."
And a giant um fork and knife.
Yes, yes, man. Oh
Yeah.
man, it is great. Now, we're just talking about Paul too, and it's just like, man, to perform as a for a kids show or for a kids film, like it has to be a lot of fun. Like all those extremities and him just
Yeah.
being like this big personality, everything he is making this huge expression about, and everything's a big deal.
Brushing his teeth. Brush, brush, brush.
Right, right. Yes. So awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. So him and Miss T. And then he has the bright, colorful house, and he goes outside and he turns on the sprinklers, and he warns his neighbor. He's like, "Hey, I'm about to turn on the sprinklers." And these days everybody is just, they're ready to just close up the blinds and ignore everybody. I don't, man, get off my lawn. No, my man was like, "Man, that's Pee Wee. Man, let me close the window. You got it, bro. Go ahead, do your thing."
Have you noticed throughout the movie, and I'm just gonna jump ahead because like as a general statement,
Yeah.
um, how weird Pee Wee is and how even if people don't like him at first, they end up liking him.
Right.
So like they're like Pee Wee is not like anybody else. He's just himself. And so he doesn't have to be like anybody else. And therefore people like him for exactly who he is.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I
That's the
found that experience throughout my whole life as well. Like instead of trying to fit in, I'm just myself and people seem to like that and it makes me happier too. So they'll be like, "Hey, you're just a big weirdo." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's no, everybody has their own individuality." So, yeah.
Right, exactly, man. And that inner star, whatever that unique thing is in you, as long as you don't let anybody fizzle it out, don't let it just be that big bright star, and everybody will come around or appreciate it eventually.
Yeah, I've had my experience with, letting that fizzle out to different degrees, and it doesn't work.
Right,
So
right, yeah, man. And we all deal with this stuff every
I
now
think
and then,
that
right?
we do.
Yeah, man.
Then we learn better.
Right, exactly. So let's see. So he has this elaborate security system for his bike. He touches all these donads and all of this, and then like the garden just like lifts up and his bike is in there.
Good
All right.
morning.
Yes. This guy is epic, man. I wonder how much of this is he's improv, and probably all of it. But they wrote it, so yeah, probably a little bit in between. Let's see. He has an elaborate security with the cool. Oh, and then of course that's the introduction of the tiger that you have on your neck.
Yeah, he brushes its teeth too.
Right. And see, and the importance, see that he's showing the kids the importance of brushing your teeth. See, he's being very conscious for the kids.
It's true. Dental hygiene is very important. So.
Quite key. And so, go ahead.
Oh, I said dental hygiene is very important.
Yes.
And then he goes on and like he's nurturing and cleaning like every part of the bike.
Right. And it's the big setup, right? It's like we know when he's gonna lose this bike, it is just gonna be like code red because he just cares so much about it, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So he grabs the bike and he's going out. He's gonna go for a ride, but of course Francis comes. All right. So Francis is letting him know he's having a birthday. It's his birthday, and he wants his bike. He's, oh, my father is gonna prepare me. And he, oh, can I have your bike? And Pee Wee just falls on the ground laughing.
Gazillion billion dollars.
He's like, you was not touching my bike. He was clowning him, man. And of course, it was going to be Francis that was going to be the one that was stealing it, or he hired somebody, I guess, to steal it, right? I mean, let's be honest. The way Francis, introduction is, Francis, for lack of a better term, Francis is a little B, okay? He is
a little petulant child. And like I look at the Francis scenario to Pee Wee is like Pee Wee's bike is like his individuality, like his spirit, right? Mm-hmm. And like in our lives, we have either those people or those concepts that come along and they're like, oh, it's for sale. Oh, I want to take it. Oh, I want it for mine. I want you to give it to me or give it away, because they want something that you have, like, or, asking you to be smaller, anything like that. Like it's a general idea. So Francis is kind of like representative of like, sometimes not that I have a negative worldview, but the way the world or like other people kind of want to take your individuality from you. And that's what I think Pee Wee's bike means to him in a symbolic way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Francis symbolizes that antagonist that is, people want that thing, that thing that is you. They want that essence. Oh, can I have that? Can I have, that, oh, like they like the way you rock those sunshades, or they like the way, you wear those shoes or something, and oh, can I have that? And it's like, you couldn't have this if I gave it to you. You feel me? Exactly. Or you wouldn't even have it wouldn't be of the same value. It's like you would have them and they're not a big deal. You just toss them away.
To them, and it's like Francis wouldn't even appreciate it anyway. He just wants it, and he thinks that he has access to it.
Right. Yeah, like he's privileged,
Yes.
So I love how he was like, they were going back and forth, and he was like, "You can't make me," and he was like, "I don't make monkeys, I only train them." Oh,
And it's like the I know you are, but what am I? And it sounds so childish, but if you look at it in like the philosophical or psychological sense, like we're really just communicating with others or behaving as um as our own inner world. So the I know you are, but what am I? It sounds childish, but that's exactly what it is and what it means. So, like the more and more like I saw that, and the more and more I was able to learn and self-reflect, and just reading on like, working on my own self-development, that whole I know you are, but what am I is like actually a really important statement.
I agree. It's a lot more mature when you think of it in that sense, because most people, or when most of the things that we say, if not all of it, we're really reflecting what our character is, and we're saying what we think of ourselves, really. So, like if I were to do that, it would be scary, right? Or if I were to do that, it would be this. So I'm going to call you that instead, right?
Exactly.
Right. So you're right.
Experience that a lot, especially like as adults, but we don't say it so simply the way children do. Right. And I love that it's that in this movie and the whole, all of the characters, everything, it's just the really simple, basic concept of like human beings and, kind of the way the world works. So it's so simplified.
It's beautiful. Where Pee Wee is riding around, stunting on his bike, like standing on it, spinning around, and impressing everybody. And then he falls in front of the people, and then he picks his bike up. I meant to do that. Just rides out. But then simplifying it again, it's like that. Oh, we're all of that, right? We're all those moves that we practice and stuff, and we're also when we slip and we fall too. You got to love it all, right?
Yeah. As we protect our ego. Yeah.
Right. But when you let it go, you can kind of that's like the next level, right? It was like, I'm okay with I just fell in front of y'all, all right? That's all part of the show. It's all part of the show, my God.
Pretty great, yeah.
Yeah, man. So then he stops in front of the clown and he pulls out the chain. And he just wraps the whole chain around him. I mean, the bike is completely covered in this chain. The bike is not supposed to move anywhere.
Did you notice that most of the chain was around the bike and not the clown?
Right. What makes you think? What do you think of when you see that?
I think it was. I mean, on the perspective of like a filmmaker, I think it was done for the visual effects, like to, kind of solidify the message that he was protecting his bike.
Right, I agree. It was again very similar to how we saw him taking care of the bike like he was before. It's again letting us know that the worst thing that could happen is that this bike gets stolen, right?
Yeah,
that's a worst case scenario.
I think most of the chain being wrapped around the bike was just to visually solidify how important the bike was to him.
I got you. Definitely. Yes. It was great visual language. Yes. I agree. Yeah. So he goes inside. Did you want to say something?
I said every time I watch it again, like I notice more and more things. So.
Right. So cool. And then, excuse me. So then he goes inside of the magic store to get some more doonads. Whatever, like, it's like the things that Pee-wee likes is the things that a little kid would buy, right? Like if you gave a little kid like $500 and just sent them on his way, that his room would look like Pee-wee's.
Yeah. Did you notice that he did like the things that were like scary and gross?
Ah, I got you.
Because there were like the severed heads, like the different sizes, and he was like, no.
Nope.
And
no.
he was like, no.
Yeah, the real
So,
big head.
no. Yeah.
Right.
So he liked the stuff that was still like on the more wholesome realm, and usually, up to a certain, well, boys past a certain age, usually boys like kind of grosser things. So it kind of was indicative of like a more innocent age of actually being a little boy in that way. So,
Absolutely.
like a 4-year-old boy will probably not like severed heads as much as he's gonna like a big giant ear.
Right, right, because it's just cool, it's just it's just like or the fake gum, to pull a little prank, right?
The
And
innocence of it all.
if we fast forward to that really quick, that the guy who answers the door, I think he was in James Bond movies, the one that throws the hat.
When was this?
In the movie. I'm skipping ahead.
Oh no, please do. No, you're fine. We're going all over the place. It's fine.
The Asian guy, he's either Asian or Samoan. He was in James Bond movies. He's the one that like would throw the hat with like with precision.
I got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that was him. And he was at Francis's door, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was great. He had like the hand that knocked so that he could slip in. That was smooth, man. That was smooth. So he leaves the magic store and then he goes to the bike store and he goes and he gets the big loud horn, right? And he meets
and the BMX guys already knew Dottie had a crush on him because they're like, oh, it's getting hot in here. Oh, yeah. And
right.
I knew about the dynamic that Dottie was trying to form with Pee-wee.
Right.
So it had to be going, huh?
Yeah, right. I mean, they were the ones that were talking about it being all hot and bothered and stuff. Like he was very asexual about the situation. He was, I'm here. What did he tell her? He was like, I'm a loner. He's like, I'm a rebel.
He said, I like you. I like you. And he's like,
wow.
There's about me that you wouldn't understand, that you shouldn't understand, that you couldn't understand. And he's like, I'm a loner. I'm a rebel.
It's beautiful.
So,
letting her know, babe.
Yeah, James Bond stuff.
Right. So
yeah, I think when he had mentioned James Bond stuff, but when the BMX guys were talking about his horn, they were like, what are you gonna do with it? And he's like, it's James Bond stuff. So he was already trying to be a little bit mysterious in that way.
Right.
And notice, like, after he takes the horn from her, because she asked him to the drive-in, he's walking out, but he's giggling to himself every time he turns Dottie down. Mm-hmm. He's kind of delighted in it because he knows he's playing with her.
Right. And it's like it's a more innocent state of mind that he's in. It's not even necessarily that he wants to like play with her like play with her emotions, but it's more like this, like what you like about me is this. That's what you don't realize is this is all me. This whole thing that I do, and it incorporates not
avoiding the romance part of it in a way to reject her, because I think it was the romance that he didn't want, or like to further that, but he didn't dislike Dottie in that way.
Right. So. I love how you said that. You reminded me of that. You said the line verbatim. He's like, I like you, but hey, I got to do what I got to do, right? So go ahead.
I think right now it says like on my profile picture that exact line.
That's great. I have to like that when I check on it.
Yeah.
Great.
So, the day I tattoo, so it's like there's things about So he's been my I've been connected to the spirit of Pee-wee for quite a while now.
Beautiful, man. Oh, again, I'm so glad because I mean, this was just a memory lane for me. You know, I felt like I was like, I used to sit in my old stroller. I remember I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I used to just sit in my stroller. I had no business like just sitting in front of the TV with a jar of peanut butter, and I was just right there again watching this earlier. I was like, I felt like that all over again.
Yeah. And it's such a
So,
fun to talk about too. I
right.
don't know anyone who doesn't like to talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean it's so easy for me to not think about Pee Wee as an adult, you know. Honestly, you know, because we're desensitized, right? Like
Yeah.
right, so much stuff to think about, right?
I think I try to return to that like the older I get, to try to return to that innocence, like that wholesomeness. I think we get to points in our lives where we're a little bit too affected by like the really adult, things. And I think the whole cycle of life, we kind of return to our childhood. So like, why not do some of it now?
Right. Absolutely. I agree 100%. You know, we get caught up in our day to day, and you forget, you know, that spark, that brought you here. It's can bring you through all of it. You know, it can bring you through every single bit of the ups and the downs. And I think with every generation we can say the further and further you go back, the more sort of innocent it was. You know how the Muppets keep trying to come back. I love the Muppets so much, right? But I just feel like, and she said she loved the Muppets, guys. But I love. I also know and recognize that it's just a different time now. I don't know if the Muppets could thrive. They'd have to turn them into like the dark Muppets. You know, they'd have to have emotions or something now, right?
So maybe if you look at it from the point of like, being a father now,
Right.
um, you can start to like visit the innocent parts and like and enjoy them again with your child. And those like toddler and preschool years are the most fun. Like I remember like dancing to the Wiggles and Blue's Clues, and doing all the Sesame Street stuff. And I had like a tape of like Bear in the Big Blue House, and I loved all the songs. And
Wow.
it's all the like really the childlike wonders. Like you get to revisit like riding a bike. You get to revisit like them tasting certain foods at certain times, or like hide and seek, and you realize how much magic almost that you forgot about. And that's the wonderful thing. I mean, my son just turned 18, but this year I started taking dance lessons, and now I'm like break dancing, and I'm like, why have I not done this before?
Yeah, man, you've been jamming, man.
I mean, I can't, do a 6-step right now. But just that sort of stuff. I think that we should really free ourselves from the confines of like not only what other people think, but just enjoying really simple things like music. Like I dance all the time at work. I dance in the door and out the door. Like and it's fun. Like we dress up, we do all sorts of fun stuff. And I mean, that's really what living is all about. And I think we shouldn't be ashamed to embrace our childlikeness.
I'm gonna go out on a limb right now, Amanda, and I'm just gonna say you are probably easily top 10 coolest moms in the world. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. I can only imagine you being raised by you, Amanda. You have such a warm, again, just jovial spirit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to my son. Like the moment he's able to comprehend what's happening on the screen, we are going straight immediately to the 80s. We're going straight to my childhood, bro. We are watching all of the cartoons. We're going to do all of the dances and all the songs. I am so looking forward to when my son is of that age where we can do that. Oh, looks like we might have lost her for a bit, guys. And I also want to apologize. My audio recorder wasn't recording for like the first like 40 minutes, so I'm sorry about that, guys. All right, cool. No, you're good. No worries at all. Through movie magic, it'll be as if it never happened.
Okay. There you go. All right, so you are going straight to the 80s.
Yes, I'm going straight to the 80s with my son. I'm in the 90s. I'm looking forward to all the Teenage Mutant Ninja, Mighty Morphin Powerin', Sailor Moonin', all that stuff, man. I'm looking, and then like you said, there's just stuff that I don't even remember. Like Pee-wee, there's that I'll be like, oh man, why don't you check this out, right? And the Muppets and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
E.T. and the Gremlins.
Yes. Goonies, all that stuff, man.
My son was obsessed with the Goonies at like 2. I'll tell you a real quick story. So he was like 2 and he loved the Goonies. Mm-hmm. And I had a TV in his room that was up on a stand, like I put it up on a stand on the wall. Mm-hmm. And you know how kids, he loved Inspector Gadget too.
Oh, nice.
His 2 big ones. But so I had a neighbor come over one time and he was like in the bathtub and I quick answered the door, and you know how kids are, they like repeat lines from the movies. Well, my neighbor came in and she had a son that I watched that was a similar age, and my son stood up in the bathtub and he looks down at his naked body and goes, "Oh no, that's mom's favorite part." From like when the statue broke at the private parts, and I'm like, it's not. I mean, it's not. But it's not. But kids just they do like the funniest things, and like he was also obsessed with like Inspector Gadget. So then he believed that it was the movie with Matthew Broderick that he liked so much. And Matthew Broderick had an operation. So my son thought that when he would go to the doctor, that he would get gadget parts. And so my doctor was clued into this. We had the same doctor, family doctor. Mm-hmm. And I would buy like all kinds of things from the dollar stores, like mini calculators and all kinds of junk. And then he'd come in and he'd like be like, "Oh, look, and so he would pretend to like give him gadget parts at his checkup. And he was like, it was like magic.
That is the best.
It's just really fun to like, take ideas from like their favorite things and like, yeah, let's go with that. So it was always really fun.
Man. That was so cool.
I would flip them in the nurses' pockets because they knew us both. So I'd be like, here, give these to, Dr. M. And so we got to have like a lot of fun doing that.
That is so cool that your doctor was cool enough to play along.
Yeah, I think they usually are if you ask them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, man.
Surprised, like no is just a 2-letter word, right?
Right. Here, I'm gonna change my batteries on my audio real quick. Give me 1 sec. Yeah. All right, we're back. All right, so now we go back in, or I'm sorry, he comes back out from the bike shop, and dun dun dun, bike's gone.
Yes.
And the clown that was standing there the whole time is on a whole nother level. Now he's like an evil clown, right?
Right.
Like laughing at him at this point.
Right.
It's amazing how I appreciated that sort of visual language because it's the same exact clown, but now that his bike is gone, the clown is sort of this terror, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So the police and the ambulance won't help him. So what's that? What'd you say?
I said we're losing valuable time.
Right.
when they took the oxygen off of him.
Right. Right. And then let's see. Others riding around with their bikes. Yeah, so he's just sitting there and people just keep riding past him with all these dope bikes.
It's like we've all experienced this in our adult lives. Like if you break up with somebody and then all of a sudden like you see happy couples, like your worldview changes.
Thank you for saying that. Exactly.
Everybody else has got something that you haven't, no matter how you're looking at it. Right. And I really love that was portrayed, because it's really something we all go through, you know. And then all he can see is bikes. It's the only thing in this realm, like little bikes, motorcycles, toy bikes, everything, like every different type. And it's just a constant reminder.
Right. And I love how you drew those parallels, because the moment after your breakup, or, you know, the moment that you get fired, everybody else has a job except for you, right? You know, or the moment you break up, you see all these couples, everyone's happy except for me. I'm all lonely, right?
It like, I'm sure when your wife was pregnant, I'm sure like pregnant women were like so obvious to her, like everywhere. Right. So well, it's what you notice that is around you. So it's still like that reflection of your inner world, but at this point, it's like sadness and a sense of envy.
Exactly. And of course, when he's sitting there talking with the police, he then has his epiphany.
Yes,
Francis. Freaking Francis. He goes to Francis' place, and as we say, like he said, he ended up knocking on the door, tricking the doorman into letting him in.
Right? Where they hook down. Yeah.
And I thought it was very symbolic how Francis, when he was in his pool / bath, whatever the hell you want. That's not a bath. That was a pool. That he's in there and he's being Godzilla. He's being the villain in his own movie.
Oh my gosh! You know what? That didn't really occur to me.
Right? Yeah. See, ain't that something, man? Yeah. See, it's like even you leave him alone to play, and he's the bad guy, right? Versus when Pee-wee was by himself, he was having fun and brush your teeth.
Buxton Inception. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So him and Francis, Pee-wee and Francis has this epic tussle inside of the pool, and then Francis and Punk Francis and his dad comes and saves him. He's like, "Oh no, my son wouldn't do that. No.
Face, yeah.
Look at this face.
You believe, don't you, Dad? Yeah.
And this is a grown man. You see how we keep talking to them like they're kids? This is a grown man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So Pee-wee, of course, offers $10K on the radio and up on all the signs, like, please find my bicycle, any and everybody. And I love how he spit the game to Dottie. Like he was like, look, if they bring me my bike, that means they stole it. I'm not giving them any money.
Right. And then at the end of that broadcast, it's like, and that's PEE.
Just in case you don't know how to spell, like, I'm dead serious now. WEE. Oh my gosh. So let's see. So he ends up. We see that Francis has hired the dude to steal the bike.
So let me cut to that scene. Let me just pause on that. Mm-hmm. So in that scene, Francis is under the mouth of a big tiger. He's got like two saber-tooths, and there's a big tiger above him.
Wow.
Like the front of the bike.
Wow.
The guy who stole the bike for him has a shirt that says tigers.
Wow. Not until you said all of that. Wow.
Got it. Like, but the tiger above Francis is like a live tiger, like very vicious. It's taxidermied. It's like a possession.
And I got you.
Surrounded by, and so like I don't know if this was done on purpose, but the symbolism of the tiger above Francis that is, like taken and taxidermied, and it's under like kind of like nefarious means, right?
Definitely.
And then the
I'm with
saber
you.
tooth, and then the guy in the tiger shirt is representative of like, I stole the tigers, and like the tiger representing Pee-wee's like individuality, like his spirit. I just thought, like, I wonder if that was purposely connected. If not, it just seems like it really fits.
Yeah, I absolutely. That is definitely a cinematic language that they established and kept going. Because it's different when Pee-wee is using the tiger to symbolize, on his bike, that spirit, versus that taxidermy where he actually is the beast. Francis and the person he hires actually is the beast. So yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. I like it, and I think I only noticed that like the last 2 or 3 times I saw the movie, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So, but I think that Tim Burton uses a lot of visual language on purpose that like sometimes maybe we don't always see, especially the first time. He's really good at like even honing in on the details of subtleties.
Absolutely. And so Pee-wee holds a town hall meeting, with the harsh light hovering over him. It's 3 hours long, and I tried to write down some of the stuff, but I was just like, this is just
Something
hilarious.
you'd like to share with us, Amazing Larry?
He had so many bars in that interrogation. I was just dying laughing the entire time.
And I identify with Pee-wee like this too. Like when I'm like lost, so to speak, or going through it, like I tend to really obsess, and he's like, and it's like a big cable knit sweater that just keeps knitting and knitting and knitting,
and then he has the model of the mall, like the miniature model of the mall. This is where the crime was.
Yeah, the same with the 7th house. Yeah, and I do that.
Yes.
But the fact that like he does go there,
right.
is just, I love it because it shows how human he is, even despite like his playfulness. Like, if he's driven to that point so far, he's going to show more of that human struggle. Right. So
definitely, when it means that much to you, it honestly, it makes me think of when I'm directing. The last short that I did, we were in an Airbnb, and it was about this kid who brings her vegan friend over, and their mom makes some dinner that has food in it that makes her pass out, and they have to run around and revive her. And there is, when the kids are playing in the room, we had to decorate, we had to set deck the bedroom, and you're the director and everyone's asking you all these questions, and there was a tiara for the little girls to wear on set. And the production designer just came up to me and was like, which tiara? Which one do we wear? And I'm just looking at it like, And then I look up, and the little girl is staring at me like, he is really... he is dead serious about this tiara right now. And I just caught myself in that moment with that little girl staring at me, and I'm like, the fluffy one. Pick the the pink fluffy one. but we're that detail oriented when it's stuff that we really care about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so. And that's what and that's what is valuable. That's what that's our inner us, right? That's like when the best version of us come out, right? It's like when we're doing something that we care a lot about, right?
Yeah, I think everything that I do care about, like I'm like hyper obsessed with the details. Like, I don't know if you saw, I'm doing an illustration right now that's a commission, and it's of Tom Brady.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks so cool.
Yeah. And it's just like details, like going over it, like in karate, like all that. Like I'm like, I just obsess over the details. But, you know, I always think it's the little things that make the big picture. And it's the little things that build things that impact it. If you think of like moving a mountain, you want to move it rock by rock.
Sure.
You're not gonna, you know,
Preach.
and it's the way with other things. So I think detail oriented people, I don't think it's really such a hyper obsession, but I think it's just a level of care. So
absolutely, absolutely, that's what it shows, you know. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So Pee-wee afterwards, he's very mean to Dottie, and he's very mean to everybody, actually. And you know when you get in those moods, man, you know when you're in a bad mood, everything's going wrong, and you're just like, F everybody, I am tired of this. And I really appreciated this moment as a screenwriter, because I was wondering what was his arc going to be, because otherwise he would have been too flat if he didn't have a lesson that he needed to learn. But right. he was very mean to her, and he told her that he doesn't need them, he doesn't need her, he doesn't need anybody. He's going to go and figure this out on his own. And then he goes walking around in the rain, and so the people come in the night like they were about to rob him or something. He's like a demon, like, and they run away from him.
And if you're looking like in a Joseph Campbell sort of way, like he's entering that phase of his hero's journey.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So, and then of course, and he does what we all tend to do in these dark moments of confusion. We go to pseudoscience. Yeah, we go to a tarot card reader that for a nominal fee tells us what we need to do in our life.
Yes. All been there. I don't know if we'll all admit it, but I think we've all been there.
Right. Yeah, and what's crazy is, and I think that this story does it along with so many others, in a way. Yes, that woman, the gypsy, whoever. Yes, she's janky and trying to make her money, but there's the universe is above all of us, right? And
yeah.
And when you're looking, you'll find in a weird way. It may not be what you think it is, and even though it wasn't a straight shot there, in a way, him going to the Alamo was how he ended up finding his bike at the end of the day, right?
Right. And so like that would have been an important part of the journey. It was, yeah. So, and it's just an interesting take. I mean, because you could offshoot like any number of characters, like where she went, like, or what happened to her from that, but like everything is always connected. So I love how and if he hadn't had been led in that direction, he wouldn't have had the experiences and learned the lessons that he did. Right. And also he wouldn't have come to where we're talking about the end and being the ultimate success.
Right. Yeah, man. The big boom at the end, right? So let's see. So he gets his tarot card reading, and she tells him that he needs to go to the Alamo, because that's the sign that she looked up at after she stole his wallet and saw the pictures of his bicycle. He's like, "Oh my gosh, she's right! Oh my gosh, she must be real." Gets us every time, right?
Yep.
And so, Pee-wee's. Oh yeah, and then so when he's hitchhiking, talk about a more innocent time. He's hitchhiking, and he gets picked up by a guy who was in prison, and he's a fugitive from prison because he ripped the tag off of the furniture that says "Do not rip." I used to always be afraid to rip those off too.
I use that line all the time. Like one time, it was like that the sheriffs in Alabama were like taking dogs to like my backyard, like they were looking for somebody, and I put a picture of it up, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, those mattress tags that says "Do not remove" by federal law. I said,
it was me.
I got mad and I cut one off.
Take me in, officer.
lines from this movie over and over again.
That is great. I'm glad that you keep that alive for all of us. So let's see. So, and then Pee-wee's bike drives right past him.
Yes.
As they were talking, right? Isn't that crazy?
Like as they're laughing, yeah. And
why did they do that to us, Amanda? I was trying to find the meta reasoning behind that. Was there this thing of, you know, he needed to do something before he could really see the bike?
You know, I don't really think it's that deep. I think it was just more like if he had only been paying attention, that, you know, or, you know, if he had I don't know if it goes deeper than that. And if you watch the scene, there's like a split in the road and the car goes this way.
Right.
So I'm thinking of it, you know, like the car puts him like, can't he look a little bit towards that? So he was looking to the left at Mickey. And I love how Tim Burton set this up because when the bike passed him, Pee-wee was looking to the left at Mickey like this, and then they veer off to the left. So he's still looking to the left as the bike goes on that trailer straight ahead. And I'm like, I don't think it would have worked any other way.
Right.
So the way that was like carefully mapped out, like, you know, in the director's eye, I thought was pretty brilliant, because I don't know of much of any other way that it could have worked. So there was a lot of thought put into that, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I think that's real mature of you to say in that way, because when you know, we get impatient in life, and you know, when he was talking to Simone, who wanted to go to Paris, and he was just saying, my dream is to have my bike, right? Like that's all he wants is his bike, but he had it. So just picture if this didn't happen, if this didn't happen, and there'd be no movie, there would have been no learning experience for him. And I think
gone to France.
Right. Yeah. And you know, all the friends that he found, and the experience that he had, and the lessons that he learned, the movie that he got made, none of it was possible without, you know, it's like that stinky fertilizer that's necessary in order to grow that beautiful plant, right? And you know, it's like how sometimes we can get impatient. You know, it's easy for me to be like, man, why isn't this movie, why isn't the last movie I worked on the one that somebody pays me to do, right? Why am I not getting greenlit right now, right? But it's almost like, or am I missing something? Is there somebody who I should be shaking hands with that's right there beside me? Or you can do all of these ifs, ands, and buts and drive yourself crazy in your head. And yeah, you could say that he could have turned around and his bike would have been there. But that's not what life is about, right? Like life is about this journey, literally, and you have to take and just to not take that for granted, because if you want to stay home and be safe with your bike, then you'll never experience the big adventure.
Yeah, you won't. And you know, you're not going to be able to like go places with your bike and meet people and have friends and have experiences. Like, you know, Pee-wee is who he is, and like even the things he collects, he's got to go out and connect with people to you know, have those things and become that, and like get those ideas from, like, whether it's time-based collectibles or things that he likes, but you know, he can't do that in isolation. And you know, as you were saying all that other stuff, it was like, you know, a lotus is the most beautiful flower, but it grows in the mud.
How about it? See, how about it? Yeah, it's that nasty, that road, that testimony that makes the most beautiful diamonds, right? The pressure turning the diamonds, right?
That's what my Renshi, my martial arts instructor, would always say. It's like, what turns coal into diamonds? And we just say pressure, sir.
That's beautiful. Shout out to Sensei. And what did you call him? What do you call him?
So Renshi, he's a 5th degree black belt, but Renshi is a title which means polished teacher. So he's earned the ranks by his other instructors and by example of being a polished teacher. So it's not indicative of your actual downgrade or your rank. It can be, but it really does mean like a refined version of an instructor. So it's important. Yeah.
Blessings, man. That's
That's
cool.
cool.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Pee-wee bike drives right past him, and the guy, his name was Mickey, right?
Mickey.
There was one thing that I know that wouldn't have flown these days. He had a cigarette and he had a gun. Even though it was playful and it was innocent, there's no way that would fly today.
No, not a kids movie. But you know, that was a different time back then, and I don't think it was viewed the same way. And I think that the rest of the childlikeness of it kind of overrode all that.
Yeah.
And warning, there's smoking in movies.
What's that?
I think now there's like parental guidance, like warnings that there's smoking in movies.
Absolutely. And I can understand that because I, as a ex-smoker, every time somebody lights up a cigarette on a movie, I want one. Every single time. They make it look so cool.
I quit smoking too, and you know, it also depends on what's going on. Yeah. Right. I do agree that it's an influence. Yeah.
Definitely. So, we get to the part where Pee-wee addresses as a woman so that they can get past the policeman that we were talking about before. And then he lets Pee-wee drive. And Pee-wee drives, and of course there's all these crazy sidewinding signs that come up. You're like, what? And then falling rocks? Are you serious?
So the funny thing is, like, Mickey did not see any of that happening.
Right.
He was sleeping. And, you know, the signs kept coming, like, one after the other.
Right.
And it's not known if Pee-wee really knows how to drive, but I think it's almost assumed that he is not a very skilled driver. And so it seems as though Mickey might be under the impression that Pee-wee is not a good driver in the first place because his response to that whole thing was, you know, get out.
Right.
And there's a part to that whole scene that Mickey is unaware of, that he doesn't know about. And, you know, we have that happen in our lives a lot, you know, like, hey, you don't know the whole, but that was never communicated.
Right.
So I think that's very interesting.
Right. Yeah. It's like it was never like my repertoire, the things that I have to bring to this adventure was not explained to you, Mr. Mickey, before you kicked me out.
Start going like this.
You know? And you're saying that, and it makes me wonder what, like, maybe those weren't really happening. Maybe that's how he felt. You know, when he saw the signs and stuff, because he wasn't a good driver. Maybe he felt that.
Okay.
Way.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. Our minds just combined and created that, y'all. I don't know. It might be true. We're gonna take credit for that, Tim. All right. Not you. That's ours. That's Amanda and Trey Paulus. So, all right. So now he has no ride. He gets dropped off because the falling rocks makes him crash, and Mickey leaves him in the middle of nowhere. And go ahead.
So if you notice too how Tim Burton adds in animation to this movie, animation and then stop motion animation. But this would be the only part that's actually animated, where you can see the whites of the eyes. Like,
right.
But the fact that he mixes up like the realism with the animation, but almost as though they're not separate, you know, like there's no indication that it should have been animated.
Right.
It sense, you know.
No, I'm right there with you. It was so well sewn in. It was a very well placed form of animation. So like Pee Wee is already a very animated character.
Right.
He could be a cartoon all on his own. So when he switches to those eyeballs in animation, kind of that vibe that is that particular part, it's already been going on. So it just doesn't skip a beat. And even when they flash the lights real quick and there's all these animals around him, he's like, ah! And then they cut the lights back off.
And he uses those headlight goggles from the magic shop.
Right, exactly. Bringing it back, from what he see, just not no wasteful storytelling here.
Yeah.
So he, let's see, he's in the middle of nowhere. He's picked up by the female trucker. Let me see what it was. Large Marge, right? I look up and you're laughing already. Large Marge, man.
It was down like a garbage truck dropped off the Empire State Building.
So her story was so epic, man. She was telling this crazy story about this accident that happened, the worst accident that's happened ever in life. And then then they go into the clay animation when she's like, like describing what happens, right? Yeah. And then she drops him off, and then he goes inside of the bar only for the other truckers to say, man, like Large Marge has been dead for years since this big accident. It's like, oh, she's a ghost. She's a ghost. That was great, man. Let's see. So then that's when he sees Simone, who's serving him, right? And then Simone asks him if he can come and watch the sunrise with her, which was just so sweet, right?
Right. He realized his wallet had been gone, so he's washing dishes. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in order to pay for what he did, right, for what he bought, right. And so she asked him to watch the sunrise inside of the dinosaur with her. And that was a beautiful scene. So while they're watching the sunrise, she asked him about his dreams. And she says that she really wants to go to Paris, and he says that he just wants his bike, right?
Goes, everybody's got a big butt, Simone. Let's talk about your big butt.
And that's when Andy, her boyfriend, is listening. That's what he hears. And he also hears her say, hold up. He's like, you really gave me, like...
Put it to me like that.
Say that again?
I've been waiting for somebody to put it to me like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is what Andy hears, guys. This is what her boyfriend hears while they're talking. They're having this sweet talk, and that's all he hears. So clearly, Pee Wee is about to get that butt whooped after sunrise.
But it's cute, like that. She's sitting very close to him, and she's leaning in, and it almost looks like she's trying to have a romantic interaction with him, but not necessarily. But the camera is cut off like right at their hands, so it looks like her hands are leaning in, like she's trying to hold his hands, but you can't tell.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And again, when you're talking about the ambiguity, dealing with, well, what is this feeling here? It's not romance, but what is this? And I think it's important. But especially being a young male, for me, when we were teenagers, when we were in middle school, it was like you have a crush on a girl, excuse me, you kiss the girl, or even further in teenagers, when we're horny teenagers and we're just like wanting to hump everything that moves, right? And to grow out of that and understand that chemistry does not mean sex, right? Chemistry doesn't always mean that you guys are supposed to be married. Sometimes chemistry is just that thing that you guys need to engage in together right here in this moment, right?
Right, exactly. And like his body language in that scene was very stiff and straightforward. So, there was a different dynamic between the two of them, but it was understood that you know, they were connecting just on a level of friendship, and that was it. So I think it was for like her romantic personality,
Exactly.
and the fact like she didn't really like her current boyfriend, so she thinks she was just kind of romanticizing the idea of talking to Pee-wee. So
definitely. That's cool, man. You're a wise one, Amanda.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's cool because they're both kind of, as they're searching for this what their dreams are. What's the thing? What they're searching for, how to explain it and how to verbalize it. It is that moment that is just so genuine and pure, and it but still means a whole lot. And when she's saying that, he's saying that he wants his bike, and she's saying that she wants to go to Paris. If he wasn't there, if they didn't have that moment, she wouldn't have been able to go to Paris. She wouldn't have been able to break up with her boyfriend and go live her life, right?
And that's the idea too behind like I think what Pee-wee's bike, for what I see, means to him is like, so she wasn't going to Paris because Andy had flunked French in high school. So everything that Paris and French and like things in French represented made him feel stupid. So she held herself back for him.
Right.
Her dreams. And so Pee-wee was trying to tell her, look, don't deny your dreams because someone else feels a certain way. It's not even personal. You have to do those things. So I think that was like a beautiful lesson. And I think we all need to learn that at some point in our lives. So right there, Pee-wee was like the guru of like, you got to be yourself, you got to be authentic. And I feel that maybe that was a key point in continuing the journey to find his bike, because I feel like this authenticity.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about him being the guru, that is, of just finding that inner power within yourself, in a way, he lives in it every day. He wakes up in it, so it makes perfect sense that he kind of give that to her in that moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. So after Andy chases him away with a bone, right? He hops onto the train, the cart of the train, and he has some epic sing-alongs with Jack. Remember the old man Jack?
Yes.
He's just singing all of those crazy songs with him.
Popcorn. Have you noticed throughout this movie now that Pee-wee has he's encountered the spoiled adult child, the bike owner, the girl who has a crush on him, the magician, the criminal, the police, Simone, Andy, now this guy Jack. So Pee-wee doesn't judge anybody. Wow. So like he hasn't really like he hasn't really judged the difference between people negatively. Like they're human beings. And so like you see these people from all walks of Pee-wee's life and his experience come into his existence, and he's like, hey, you're a human being,
Right. And he can appreciate them in the moment that he's with them, right?
For who they are as individuals. And I think that is representative of Pee-wee being an individual himself. So, and you'll see that later in the movie when he ends up at like at Universal Studios, I think it is, and
Warner Brothers.
And there's a drag queen that says something to him, and a guy with a high voice, and nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
I peeped that.
And that's the magic of Pee-wee. So, as much as an individual as he is, he embraces the individuality of everybody else. He never treated Jack any differently than Simone. Right. And he didn't treat Simone any differently than, he would have treated, Francis. So
right.
I think that is a huge lesson in humanity. So
definitely. And us growing up watching that and emulating him, I feel like we pick up on those characteristics without even realizing it. You know, like just as a kid, just meeting different personalities and growing up. I can so see that quality. I appreciate. I don't know if it was Pee Wee or not, but thank you.
We're taught our biases. We're taught our biases by our environment or by people who, teach their own biases to us. And it's almost as though Pee Wee didn't have biases in the first place. So,
Absolutely. So beautiful. So Jack was great, but he was singing a whole lot, man. Pee Wee was getting a little tired, man. He was like, we jamming and everything, but
yeah, he had more spirit than Pee Wee did.
Yeah, that's something. That says a lot too. And he has nothing at all, huh? Jack has nothing at all.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
So Pee Wee, go ahead.
It's a state of mind.
Right.
State of mind. So Pee Wee hops off of the train, and coincidentally, he's in the Alamo. He has now arrived in the Alamo. Now, when they take him around, I found out, we deal with all this Adobe software. I found out, I was curious what was an Adobe, because they said, can you say Adobe? And they were like, Adobe. So I was like, I wonder what that means. And it means mud brick. And it's a type of, architecture or building that they were built, houses that they would build in Mexico. But I found out that actually Adobe, the software, is named after Adobe River, which is like in California. They used to run behind the creators of Adobe. The river used to run behind them in Cali.
And I don't know, that scene always cracks me up because he's so impatient. So he's like,
Right. Yeah. Like he doesn't want to learn any of that crap. He's like, come on.
Yeah.
Where's my bike?
Whole thing, but his body language, it has me like rolling.
Right. Yeah. But that was so us, right? You know when you're like 7 years old and you're on those field trips and they're like, and this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Great Tower of this, and you're just like, oh my God, it's like I just want my bike. So then they all tease my man because what the gypsy told him was that it was in the basement of the Alamo, and they all start laughing and teasing him because of course there is no basement in the Alamo.
Right. And then he arrives at the bus station, and when he runs into Simone, who's following her dreams, and he tells her, and I think the really interesting thing is that she's right by this. She's like, they don't really tell us that in school,
right?
That they're in the Alamo, and they don't.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have known that, and especially without watching the movie, I didn't know there wasn't a basement in the Alamo. But I know that from Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Right. It's kind of like that practical knowledge that for some reason grade school always seems to elude, right? It's like they teach us algebra, but we turn 18 and we have to do taxes and we're like, whoa, what's happening here? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? So kind of the same thing, kind of the same spirit.
You're not a paper, but I can't do my basic taxes. I don't know what's going on.
Right?
Same theories. So yeah, and then I love how after, Simone, sprinkled that romantic spirit on him. I love how, neither one of them burdened them with each other's journey. I feel like in another world, Simone could have been like, oh, come with me and let's have this romantic trip to Paris. Don't worry about your bicycle. Or Pee Wee could have been like, don't you see I'm sad here? Why would you just leave me in a time like this? Like they both gave themselves that moment again. And she was like, man, I wish you the best of luck. I'm off to my journey. And that helped him realize that he needed to go ahead and call Dottie and apologize for the way he was acting earlier, right?
But he kind of apologized. Like it was Pee-wee's he's so selfish.
Yeah.
Like he's very like 50% selfish. He's very he's on in his own little world, but in a way people accept that because he's so unique and it spreads so much joy. But I'm just like a child. He's very selfish in that way. So, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just childlike. You know, when we're kids, we have to develop. We're too busy developing, so we can kind of get that license to be selfish, right? And that's why all teenagers are a-holes. So I can play.
I like to say to like little babies, it's like, you're so selfish. It's all about you.
Right? Yeah, man. When. Oh, gotta clean your diaper. Gotta feed you. What about me, baby? What about me?
But you know, that it comes to another pivotal point in the movie where you know, Dottie doesn't believe he's in Texas, so the stars at night are big and bright.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that now. The next time I go to Texas to see how many. It's probably gonna be one person that actually does it. A couple of weird eyes and maybe one or two middle fingers.
Maybe, you know, like I have some friends that are very aware of like that line in the movie, and like some people will just follow up with it like that. Right. You know,
right?
Stars night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas.
I wonder where that started.
I think it's a song. Right? I think it's a song. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Did that in the phone booth. Was like one of the more memorable Pee-wee's Big Adventure moments.
Definitely.
So most people are gonna know that from the movie itself.
Got you.
Yeah.
So let's see. So he sees Simone. They do the text,
and it's the last time he spoke to Dottie before he apologized, said that he didn't meet anybody, and then he asked Dottie to wire him a ticket, and when he gets back, will he help her look for his bike? So he was already looking to leave Texas and come back thinking, my bike is not in Texas. But he asked for Dottie's help when he told her he didn't need her help. And if you notice, somehow she went and got Speck,
the dog,
would have been at his home. So Dottie was there all along. So I think Dottie had a closer connection in his life for a longer time. Just being indicative of like what role she's playing in the movie. So
absolutely, she's definitely that down chick for Pee-wee, man. You know, just stayed down, man. Just stayed down for him the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes to the rodeo. He rides in the rodeo. That was pretty epic. And let's see. He asked for. Oh yes, we have to go to where he goes inside of the bikers. Yes, he goes inside of the bar where the bikers are. The bikers are bullying him, and he's like, "Excuse me."
He asked them to be quiet. He said, "Shh, I'm trying to use the phone."
And then they all surround him, and he's, "Excuse me. Excuse me."
Knocks the whole row of bikes down.
Yes, Lord. Oh my gosh, I would wish I just turned invisible if I did that. Oh my gosh. That's so embarrassing. And it's bikers, so yeah, you're basically a dead man walking at this point.
I say we cut them and then we kill them. I say we skin them, we cut them, we kill them, and then another guy says I say we cut them, we skin them, we kill them, we tattoo them, and then we kill them, and then and then the girl comes and picks him up by the collar and says, I say you let me have him first, and he goes, I say we let him go.
Yes. That was great. He's like trying, like he did, like in the side of the mouth, like he didn't say it. I say we let him go. No. Oh, it didn't work. But then, and the one thing that will work, Amanda, is Pee-wee being all that he is. And he goes, guys, I got one last request.
Don't I get a last request? Yeah.
And I don't know where them clogs came in, but I'm glad.
One of the dishwashers was wearing them.
Oh,
so he was standing next to the jukebox, and he whispers in his ear, and you can see the guy go down like this.
I didn't even catch that. Oh my gosh. I was wondering, I was like, he just magically, it's like,
yeah,
all
like,
in between. It was like, give me those.
And he just like took them off, and he just
nice. Just like sat
yeah,
him, and then the infamous. That dance will never die.
If you really pay attention to what he's doing, like there's parts where like he's on like the edge of the toes on each one. I mean, he had to have like worked on that for a long time.
Right, right.
And the part where he turned everything around was where he started picking up beer glasses and said, break dance. And I was like, that's my boy.
That
like,
is
yes.
Yes, that is it. And that's what the bikers love about him, because that same renegade attitude that they have that make them bikers, they saw that in him smashing everything around, right? Breakdance.
Yeah. And so they're like, you know, this guy's weird, and we didn't like him at first, and we got him kind of wrong. And because when they came up and hung up the phone, they're like, you know, this is like the Satan's helpers or whatever. And he's like, right. Nobody made me hip to that, dude. You know, and they were like, that's when, you know. Anyway,
yes.
Nobody made me hip to that.
Dude.
But the fact that, like, he was just unapologetically himself.
Right.
And he was just being his own quirky self.
And that's what they recognize, because that's what they're doing.
But he's everything like Pee-wee.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I just love that.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Everything that they love about being who they are is what they saw in him, right?
Right. And so he's not trying to be like them. He's just being himself. And he's like, well, here's my chance to like break some stuff. Cool.
Right. Let me do this now, right? Yeah.
And I feel like I've lived a lot of my life like that. Instead of like trying to be more like anybody else, I didn't fit in with anybody, so I was just myself. So I fit in with like everybody. And
there you go.
I totally get the whole Pee-wee vibe.
I love that. Yes. Your animal spirit.
Yeah.
So my man breaks it down, and then that of course gets him a whole motorcycle. You know, my man gets a whole motorcycle, and he immediately rams it right into us.
Oh yeah.
I was dying. He immediately ran right into a sign. Such is life, huh? You get your big opportunity and bang.
Like red. Yeah. It looked like a Wile E. Coyote kind of thing.
Right. Oh my gosh, that was so. I was like, dang, my man Pee-wee, man. It's like you just knocked over their motorcycles. They gave you one, and then you smashed it right into the side.
Now I'm not sure if you noticed this part, but right after that, like, you know, they're wheeling him into the hospital, but in between, the whole motorcycle gang escorted the ambulance to the hospital.
Oh wow! Not until you just said that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
See, they were still there for him that whole time. See, that is so cool. And did you notice Francis when he was in his dreams and the devil was like dipping the bike inside of the? You noticed that Francis was the devil.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. See, I mean, it's very similar again to him playing Godzilla or whatever, being the own villain again. That just harkening again to that whole devil thing, right? You know, or that whole bad guy thing, right?
Yep.
So
That's indicative of like the world or like other people or whatever, like the message of being disingenuous to yourself is like that devil idea that would take everything from you and like kind of tear you apart. So
absolutely. And that's like that devil of your own making, in a sense, in your own mind, right?
Yep. So
excuse me. Poetry.
So
right.
so
Who would think that there's poetry in Pee-wee, but I really do think that there is.
Absolutely, there is. If you're not if you're not it's similar to when you were saying about going back to your childhood, just in general, if you have to be able to see things that simply and innocently in the eyes of a child, but because these are adults that wrote this story,
Yeah.
These were adults that wrote this story, and great storytellers in their own right. And it is that juvenile spirit, I believe, when I'm sitting down and I'm writing and I'm really being honest to a story and I'm really being honest to a character. We try to as adults, we try to complicate things, but what we go through, like the really important pivotal moments in our life, they are as simple as the emotions that we and thoughts that we had, way back when, right?
Yeah. I think really the key to our authenticity and spiritual growth is not really complicated. It's actually very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember this quote comes to mind: "Life is a homeward bound journey."
I love that.
Yeah, I can't remember where I got that from, but yeah, it's we spend a whole lot of time trying to sift through all the adult madness, only to find out that it was that core you that you're trying to sort of rediscover, and you got to rediscover it almost every day, right?
Like it was there all along. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, which I have a poster of right over there. It's like, you've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself.
Another one of my favorites, man. I love Wizard of Oz.
I haven't read it.
Yes, I got it on mine too. Yes, man. Yes. Everything, man. See?
Yep.
We're each other's spirit animal, guys.
Yes.
So, all right. So now he goes to the Warner Brothers lap. Oh, because he's in the hospital and he looks and he sees that the child actor, that 80s child actor, he has the bike on the set, and so he's like, now I got to go to Hollywood.
Yeah, and he sees in his dream that big T-Rex.
Right, the one that they were sitting in.
Which would be kind of like a Godzilla sort of, like big monster that would, similar to the idea of Francis.
Right. I was thinking because it was a dinosaur that him and Simone were sitting in, right?
Yeah, and then there was a dinosaur later on when he went through the Japanese set. So.
Right. The Godzilla. Yes. Right. And so when he goes to the set, we still see Phil Hartman, and then when he sees the bike, he goes up to the set dressed as a nun, and then he goes yeah. Paper around right now, and thank you very much, bye.
And let me fast forward a little bit. I really love that Twisted Sister, Dee Snider,
yes. That was really Twisted Sister. That was really them.
Yeah, really Dee Snider, and that is the exact replica of the MTV video for Burn in Hell.
Right. Okay. It was. I guess it was. Yeah.
And if you match those two up, they're like. You could almost side by side replicate what's going on. I love it so much.
Cool. Yeah, man. I was wondering if that was really them, man. I was like, is that really? I was such a kid then, but Yeah, you know, big hair. They were like the big hair band. How could you forget them, right?
And the car and like it's the same thing as the video. You might want to like if you ever have time, like go watch that video, Burn in Hell.
Oh,
And
really?
it's like that scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So like it was remarkably replicated, and it's them. So
Cool.
I got it queued up.
I got it queued up for when we're done. I'm looking at it. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
Okay.
So you can see it.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
See it? So cool. All right, so cool. I have a fun evening Saturday night Twisted Sister adventure.
Yeah.
Ahead of me. Cool. So, you know, he pretends his paper route and grabs dressed as a nun and grabs his bike away from the Hollywood or from the set. And then, of course, the Warner Brothers security starts to chase him through all the different sets, through the Godzilla set, through the Teen Boppin' Beach set.
Right. And it's like the normalized kind of slapstick chase scene that everything from like the 80s and 90s, like it was just, you know, run cart, you know.
Right.
Unplugged. I liked how they unplugged the golf carts.
Yeah.
In a line.
Right. right. Yes, man. It was just perfect. Like it's like, it could be a Bugs Bunny cartoon, right? Like,
perfect, and you know, man. a lot of choreography. So
definitely. Oh my gosh, yes, right. Could you picture being on a set and then just this wacky person drives in with their cart, like just bam, just crashing? That PA
bad. Like what from the outside in, like as a movie is you know, like some slapstick gold. But if it was really happening,
right.
I would be 100% beyond annoyed.
Right? Yes, beyond annoyed. And also, I would be like, the first thing, you know, coming from PA Nation, I'm like, oh, they blew up somebody's lockup. Like, they are. Like, the PA was like, wait, we're rolling. And then they just, Pee-wee just zips past.
Aisles and like there's Santa Clauses on sleighs.
Right. No, this PA is, this whole life is ruined at this moment right now. Like that, like somebody had to get fired, and it was the PA definitely took the brunt of that one.
Yeah, it's definitely not someone whispering after they call rolling,
right?
Because that's annoying enough.
Oh my gosh, man! Oh man! So then, thank you, Pee-wee, for not grabbing your bike on one of my sets. Right. So then he escapes Warner Brothers lot. He flies over the wall, and then he can ride away and off into the sunset with his bike. Go ahead.
Doesn't he land in front of that group of kids and they're like, whoa. So he totally like makes up for the whole, I meant to do that.
Right. Yeah. Later on, I'm glad that you pointed it out. Right. But it was only in that pressure moment, right, that he was really able to stick the landing, right?
Like he came off of a roof and landed and was like, shh.
Right.
It was so smooth.
Right. Vin Diesel couldn't have did that.
Yeah.
And then when he lands, he could have went riding off into the sunset, but he sees that the pet store is on fire. And I think that really helped with showing his character arc when we're talking about him being selfish and telling Dottie and him that he doesn't need anybody. I think this was kind of the writers kind of giving him his opportunity to go full circle. I mean, because he has his bike. He could just, he's like, I'm good. But instead, he leaves his bike outside, went unchained, and goes in to save the animals.
Yeah, I've always noticed that too. And the fact that he goes and saves every single pet in the pet store. And
even
like
the snakes.
What meant most to him as a palpable object was his bike.
Mm-hmm.
But when it really came down to the wire, he chose to save those animals. And the fact that like what the beauty is about Pee-wee is like he doesn't see any human life or well any life as insignificant. So even though he hated the snakes, he saved the fish and the snakes and the dogs and the cats. And he didn't like, he just kept going back in to that burning building, like with that whole Pee-wee energy that like these souls were of value.
Right.
Like no matter how small, you know, if it was a 10-cent goldfish or, you know, a snake that he couldn't stand.
Right.
So
right.
I love that.
He's just states.
I would have done the exact same thing, but I also would have gone into a burning pet store, like to be honest.
I know you would have.
So I like that part of Pee-wee's character resonates with me too. So it does redeem that selfish part of him, but I think he had tunnel vision for his bike. He did what he did for good reasons, but he never hurt a soul. In fact, he did quite the opposite. So I really love that.
Yeah, man. Me too, definitely. And so, you know, the ambulance comes, the fire department comes. They're like, "Man, you're a hero. You're amazing." But then, of course, go ahead.
This boy's under arrest.
Right, exactly. Because Hollywood is like, "Man, no, you just finished running through and stealing the bike and all of this stuff, right?" So they go into the producer's office, and the producer tells him that, man, you're going to get away because we're going to let this slide because this is a movie. They got real meta on us. They said, we're going to make this into a movie.
Right.
Yeah. And then what I thought was really cool, you know, when we're in this sort of meta place, when we're talking about Hollywood, this is sort of Phil and Paul making fun of Hollywood because when they do the movie, they hypersexualize it and turn it in the violence. And who was it? It was Thanos's
motorcycle, and
right.
and they took the innocence and like asexuality between Pee-wee and Dottie
right
away from the whole entire story.
Right. Yeah, and then they brought stars in. It was Thanos's dad. So Josh Brolin's dad, James Brolin, and did I write her name? Yes, Morgan Fairchild. Yes. Brought them in to sexualize it, right? And be like this 007 character.
Yes. It was like a very 007 thing. And then, you know, they put Pee-wee in that role. And so I love that. Are we at the drive-in now?
Yeah, yes, please, go ahead.
So Pee-wee's at the drive-in, and he's got everybody from that part of his journey.
Yeah.
Reconnecting with, like, bringing them snacks, and he's still like, even people in their environments, they're still like no different as human beings. Pee-wee. They're his friends.
Right.
And I just have to point out something, like, this is how much I quote the movie all the time. So my ex-husband, who I get along with very well, like he texted me like this summer something, and he was like, yeah, sorry I didn't get back to you. I was at the drive-in. He was like, remember when I took you and my son like to the drive-in that one time? And I was like, yeah. And do you remember like when I gave you a foot long at my movie, and then there was a file in it?
That is great. Was this in Alabama or was this back up north?
I mean, I was here, but he lived in Pennsylvania. So like,
I mean, where was that drive-in that you guys went to?
Huh?
Where was that drive-in you guys went to?
It was called like the Mahjong. I don't know. It was in Pennsylvania somewhere,
okay.
but
Got you. Okay.
It was a long time ago. It was before I even met you.
Word.
Before I was working on HOC. So it was just funny because like he loves that movie too. So like I just took that opportunity to turn into like Do you remember? And
yeah,
so
man.
as I turn around and like just use Pee Wee references, like, whenever I get the opportunity.
Of course, man. We all are waiting for those moments in life. I want to go to a drive-in so bad. We have one right down the street from us. It's called Starlight, and they do I almost said double headers. What are they do
Double,
yeah, double features. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they're just too late for my wife. My wife taps out. Like if it's 10 o'clock, it's time for bed. So.
Oh.
But I'm definitely gonna go this summer. I'm hoping that there's a couple of good double features, and also because of COVID, actually that drive-in was very popular this past year.
Yeah, and there's been like the DJ and creator Mark Rebier, who I just love him. He was doing like a drive-in tour, so and I'm really glad that the drive-in's been coming back.
Yeah,
and like there's been some more of them opening back up, and I think that's amazing. But maybe, I don't know, maybe for like your birthday or something, she'll like stay up past 10 and want to go to the drive-in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what's going to end up happening is that we're going to go and she's going to watch the first movie, and then she's just going to fall asleep in the back seat on the second movie.
Well, at least with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which would be it's all fine by me.
Yeah, it's still a date night, even if she only makes it through one movie.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Bring her.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, so they're watching, and then of course this brawling version of Pee Wee Herman, P.W. Herman.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love how like they made him so much more Hollywood and embellished, and as like a background character, because you can see him inching in between them to the camera, and then he's looking at looking at the camera and paging Mr. Herman. Herman. I love that. I thought
right, because just to give you guys context, because Pee Wee, the actual Pee Wee, they gave him a cameo as the bellhop.
Yeah.
Right. So so he's beside P.W. Herman,
and they call James Brown the PW.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Like sexualized Hollywood version,
Exactly.
It's funny because even as a viewer, you're like, yeah, but we want it to return to the childlike state, and it's not until like you get through the movie that much that you're like, we want this childlike state of Pee Wee,
Right. Yeah, and it reminded me of I've said this probably the past 3 episodes just because I just finished watching the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, but it kind of reminds me of that whole Justice League issue where the studio came out with this crappy version. That was the final cut, and it took years for us to see the version that Zack Snyder, the director, wanted us to see, and it's completely different. It's actually a decent movie, but Hollywood did all this crap to his movie. It tried to make it into the Avengers. It tried to do all this Disney-fy it, and it made it like DC Comics was never supposed to be that. So it just made it really crappy. But and it's almost we don't know how this imaginative audience responded to this James Bond version of P.W. Herman, but we know what that who the real Pee Wee is, and we know what was really worth seeing.
And the movie makes us like the pure version of Pee Wee better, not the cleaned up, more adult, like more almost like it seems like, oh well, Warner Brothers is gonna make this digestible for everybody.
Right.
But what is digestible is the real Pee Wee.
Exactly.
And I love that.
That is so dope. Exactly. Yeah. And also, just to go again to the drive-through too, I loved how Simone came with her French boyfriend.
Yes, yes.
So,
And that you know, that part of her journey too was, you know, to of course she found someone who belonged with her when she followed her dreams. So
there you go.
she 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 met and discovered like the person that was right for her. Not that we always need to, but which kind of rolls it back into Pee Wee and Dottie
Mm-hmm.
um living out, like going to the drive-in together.
Right, but platonically.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's platonically, but it's implied that there could be more,
Right.
but it doesn't go there. So
Right.
like
It doesn't matter.
it leaves it to interpretation, but it still remains in its innocence. And I really like that it leaves it open to interpretation
Right.
because you know there I love that there was like the romance left out of it.
Right. Definitely. And that was their own journeys. You know, Simone had a romantic journey and Pee Wee did not. Right.
Yeah.
So full
Yeah.
circle.
You know, Francis still being the person that he was with the news crew.
Right.
While Francis gave himself the credit for all that happened to Pee Wee.
Right. For stealing his bike.
But not to his credit. And you know, I find that like there's a quote from Johnny Depp that was like, it said, the people who don't believe in you are going to be telling the stories of how they met you someday, or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's what Francis was doing. But I pulled that quote from like Johnny Depp because I identify very closely with it. Because when we do start to embrace our own magic, the people who were really not for us, they're going to celebrate themselves for somehow being in your life, and they get credit, but they don't get credit, but they were part of the story. So
Right. Or even further, their lives are highlighted by the part that you were in it.
right, and but they were really of no benefit, although what you know, what the people learned were of benefit. And so Francis's own undoing in front of everybody else was actually directly connected to the bike.
Right.
I taught him how to ride a bike. Do you mind if I show them, Pee Wee? You know, and it ejected him. So it was finally his own deeds that came against him, but
right.
admonished him publicly. So
right.
if we could only always have that satisfaction, but I think that served to be quite a strong message.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's like you don't have to become your haters, you know, or harbor that malice, you know, or as far as, you know, any retribution. I remember one of Jay-Z's lines. He's like, they put themselves in the air. I just kick away the chair. You know, it's like people that are like in that sort of energy. They kind of, it's like a dead limb that falls off by itself, right? You know, it's like it kind of justice kind of takes care of itself, right?
And it's what it is. It's really envy, and it's quite a beast, as you can see, like with Francis being the antagonist. You know,
right?
It's the envy that really, but yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful, man. Thank you so much again for picking this film for us. I'm going to end it with, I think the biggest thing, and I hope I'm not being redundant. I know I said it kind of already. I think the biggest thing for me, and just where I'm at in my journey right now, the biggest thing for me was that part where he looked at his bike where he was on the road and the bike passed by him and Mickey without him seeing it. Because I did catch myself in that moment. I did catch myself being like, oh my gosh, Like it's right there. It's right there. Like watching a horror movie, right? Like it's right there, man. If you could just turn around and but then all in the same moment, I just I guess with my age now, I just got looking and I was just like, wow, man. It's just like I'm being a little impatient right now. It's like I gotta let Pee Wee have this big adventure and it's not about the bike. It's not about the destination, right? And I kind of had to catch that and kind of check myself in my own life. Where like, am I getting too result based? Like I just graduated and hustling around, going from gig to gig, and it's like I got to stop and ask myself, am I doing this for? Like, is this a means to an end, or am I waking up and enjoying my days and being the best me every day and putting my all and all of my heart and energy in appreciating all that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day, this great big adventure that's mine, right? So I think that was the biggest thing that I appreciated the most about watching this today.
Yeah, I think that we're often very destination focused and not focused so much on the journey. So, a lot of us are looking at the destination or the outcome. And, the more time passes and the more like the human existence evolves, we're like in a microwave society. Like, right. And we want things as fast as they come and instant. And we look at the end or the destination of the journey, but not really how people got there. It's like you move a mountain rock by rock, or you small details into things, and we often forget that. We see like, someone starting from like modest means, and then all of a sudden they're at the top of a mountain, but it's not just sheer luck, and it's not just instantly getting there. And I think that's part of it. It's called Pee Wee's Big Adventure, not Pee Wee's Big Destination, Yeah, and so I think it's the value in that. And when we think that we're missing it, if it wasn't for him missing that part of the bike, he would have never gotten to the means that he was. He could have existed in more of a for Pee Wee, like a more mediocre existence where like, not many things magical would have actually happened. And he wouldn't be where he is now.
Right. And he wouldn't have affected the people.
It impact. So
right.
I think it's important that we focus on our journey, but not the destination, and the fact that the journey is never over.
Right.
So
that's beautiful. Thanks so much, Amanda. Now, so now that I've discovered that we're so much closer than we realize, I'm definitely going to let you know. I don't know the next time I'm going to be filming anything. I have to find a reason to cast you now that I know that you're close.
Oh, let me know and I will be there.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, yeah. Well, you enjoy the rest of the evening. And now that we've linked up, man, we'll make sure we check up on each other. Okay. And also, thank you for your awesome social media posts. Like your posts are such motivation. You put yourself out there. All your awesome quotes that you put out there for us black sheep, reminding us, to check our inner self, right? That inner pimp within us, man. Like just let it shine, right?
I just want to try to make the world a better place every day. And, if one person reads it or, it gets through to one heart or, whatever, I know I don't get to keep score, but as long as I keep doing the thing that's right and, acting with integrity, then that's what counts. So I feel like I'm forming my legacy at every moment I take a breath. So
man, it is not for naught. It is so felt, man. You have just one of the most beautiful souls I've met, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Trey. I see you and talk to you soon. And this has been such an honor. I've been so excited about it since you asked me.
Yes, man. Thank you. Thanks for the support. Thanks for hopping on board. And we'll chat soon, okay?
Oh, absolutely. You take care.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
find all our content on thenewfilmosophy.com.